Hello everyone, Brad Johnson here. And in this video I'm going to be talking about a very unique subject, and that subject is all about prerequisites for universal sovereignty. Now, I was elaborating on this a little bit in my New Earth Tarot webcast that took place today as of this date. And I was talking about a insight that related to the question about our future, about where humanity is going to be moving into when it comes to a cosmic or an interstellar level. And at some particular point, we are going to get there. At some particular point, we will graduate and migrate ourselves from beyond a planetary life into an intergalactic and universal life. But there are prerequisites relating to us moving in that direction, because there are those online quite commonly, a lot of people I've talked to, thousands of them over the years, who really believe that this idea of where we are going on a cosmic level is going to be happening here within the next couple of months to the next couple of years. And as amazing as that would be, that really is not the case. This is something that's going to take decades. And it's something that humanity has to be mentored and integrated into. It's not something like the Star Trek future, where we build a bunch of starships, we have a bunch of fancy uniforms, we have phasers and tricorders, we have teleporters, and we just start traveling throughout the galaxy. It doesn't work that way, right? That's not what it's about. There are elements of truth in something like Star Trek, but again, that's not the full truth. It is really all about the idea of moving yourself much more into a inner discipline. And it really just comes down to three factors. Number one is stability. Number two is synchronicity. Number three is interconnectedness. Now, the stability I'm referring to is that in body and in mind, you are stabilized. Because this is very much like what our off-world ancestors, our off-world family, is all about. They don't feel like they are still convoluted and living through a separate self. If there is ego, then that is only going to cause destructiveness. You see, the separate self and the idea of the ego is a destructive quality. It's not redeeming in any way. It is not liberating in any way. It is not sanctifying in any way. And a lot of our interstellar family have had to spend their own planetary existences going through those particular types of experiences to completely transcend those archaic mentalities, because that's really what the separate self is. It is an archaic mentality. It is an archaic quality. It is destructive. There is nothing in it that is redeemable to helping you move through life. It doesn't even show you life. Just as we know, when we're miserable, when we're angry, when we're sad, when we're fearful, when we have so much stress and tension, when we have so much trauma contained within ourselves that we feel we need security, we feel we need control, we feel we need dependency, we feel that we need addiction, lust, all of these different things. And that is a poison. It is a physical, emotional, and mental poison that we are experiencing when we try to preserve the separate self within us. We feel we have to defend ourselves. We feel we have to control others. We feel we have to change everyone and everything throughout the entire world so that we can feel secure. But it does the opposite effect. You have never ever felt secure through an ego. You have never felt secure through a separate self mentality. You are never able to control anything when you have an ego. You are never able to control your situations and the people in your life when you have separate self mentality. You are not able to depend upon people because you just feel that you are feeble and that other people have to look after you, but as soon as they slip up, then you can blame them for anything you need, anything you want. So none of these represent any particular form of redeemable actions when it comes to a separate self-consciousness. That is the very thing that you need to strip away, right? It needs to be completely peeled off of you. It needs to be transcended altogether. It is nothing but a physical, emotional, and mental cancer. Now, of course, we learn a lot from that separate self. We learn a lot from the ego. We learn everything that we know that we're not. And there's, of course, a gratefulness to that teaching. But if we want to move into universal sovereignty, if we want to know that we are truly one infinite being, that we simply are that idea of a separate self-consciousness cannot be preserved. There really is no reason why we preserve it. Why would we try to preserve something that is destructive? Why would we want to try and preserve something that is crippling to us? Because that is what we have been programmed to believe. We need to be programmed to believe that we can defend ourselves, that we can try to control everything, that we can try to change everything outside, that we need to seek security, that we need approval from other people, right? All of this is chaos. It is all a chaotic nature. And if for us to move into a galactic, intergalactic, universal society where there is harmony, you can't have that, right? That is a foul skin that needs to be peeled off of you. And this is very much like what I have taught many, whether it be my students, whether it be clients, whether it be subscribers here on the YouTube channel, through the BCR technique, through cord removal healing, through conflict elimination technique, through prana transmission technique, through release ball method, by understanding the nature of the abode. Okay, that is what's going to bring you into the ascent, relating to moving yourself up into the higher nature that you are. I don't even say it a higher nature, it's just the true nature that you are. But it's moving ourselves up. It's being able to go to the top of the mountain and realize this is the true nature of who I am. So again, as I talked about with the prerequisites, we're looking into stabilization. So with stabilization, the real key here is just to keep the mind quiet. It's to keep the mind as quiet as possible, right? And I know there's a lot of mixed teachings about this, about, yeah, well, should we have the mind quiet? You want to have the mind quiet, yes. The reason why you want to have the mind quiet is because there's no perturbations throughout the ether when you keep the mind quiet. A lot of people want to just make the mind so overly active. You got to think 1,000 thoughts a day. I want to manifest this in my life. Oh, I want to unlock my gifts. I want to unlock my psychic abilities. I want to unlock my CDs. And if I unlock that, then I'm going to be all powerful and everything will go my way. No. Okay? That is the wrong course of action to take. Okay? It's not about you trying to unlock all these psychic gifts. It's not about you trying to feel like you need to do some form of supernatural unfolding so that everything just goes your way. That's just another sense of control. That's just you trying to control things. And if I have extra sensory perception, if I'm able to teleport, if I'm able to read people's minds, if I'm able to levitate, all these things, well, then my life will get a lot better. No, that's a bunch of nonsense. Okay, those are not prerequisites. Okay, when I'm talking to you guys about these 3 prerequisites, none of it has to do with psychic ability. Okay, none of it has to do with the idea of acquiring CDs, right? SIDDHIS, what we call psychic prowess or psychic powers or anything of that nature. A lot of people are just seeking that. I want to get super psychic, bro. I want to turn into a superhero. I want to get all this psychic ability flowing through me. I want to do telepathy. I want to do telekinesis. I want to float. I want to fly in the air. I want to do all these incredible things. And boy, is my life going to be free. No. You're still just at square one. You're still feeling that you are in a prison. You're still feeling confinement. That's not stability, okay? Trying to acquire psychic gifts is not stability, right? We get that a lot in the New Age movement, right? And like I said, I'm not fond of the New Age movement whatsoever. A lot of it is all about, try and meditate so you can open your third eye. Try and meditate so you can do all these psychic things. Try and meditate so you have all these psychic gifts. That's a bunch of nonsense, right? Right? It's not about trying to acquire psychic gifts. Okay? Some of us are naturally psychic, and it's not to say that you cannot have those abilities, but you're using those abilities in the wrong way. Those abilities need to be warranted to work alongside your stability. They are not able to get you into stability, but they can be worked with while you are stable to assist in broader scopes of perspectives. And that's fine. So I may be talking to people who are highly intuitive, right? Who are telepathic, who are telekinetic, right? I may be talking to you right now through this video. And if you have those, that's fantastic. Okay, that's great. But that's not the prerequisite. You see, stability needs to be a foundation here. It needs to be established. And through this establishment comes the veins. And the veins can be psychic prowess, right? They are serving the nature of stability. They are not bringing you into stability, but they are serving stability. Stability is the king, the queen, and the royalty is therefore using its extensions to help understand the greater extension of its scope and perspectives, okay? So that's the whole idea. It's like a pair of binoculars, okay? If I don't have a pair of eyes, I'm not going to be able to use binoculars. And if I don't have a pair of eyes, binoculars aren't going to give me eyes. But it's through the eyes that I have that I can now use a tool like binoculars to see at a greater distance. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's stability here that is the foundation. It's the anchor. It's the establishment. So that is really what I'm talking about when we're looking at stability, getting the mind quiet, right? Just letting yourself relax. Just as I've taught you guys quite often in quite a few videos about heart rate variability breathing, right? Breathing in for 4 seconds through the nose, breathing out for 6 seconds out through the nose. Doing pranayama breath control, okay? Alternate nostril breathing. Ujjayi pranayama, okay? The bee breath. These are all examples of pranayama breath control that as you continue to work with them, they're going to bring you into a low idle, subtle state of being, to getting yourself relaxed, to getting yourself calm, to getting yourself stabilized, okay? That's the true stability. The ability to sit in silence and be still is stability. That's the most important thing here when we're looking at that particular prerequisite. Because when you are still, when you are silent, when you are balanced, when you are centered, you are present. This is what gets us into the present moment. We stay into the present moment, and now we are simply aware. Our awareness is helping us to understand. It's helping us to realize who and what we truly are. Okay? So there's stability. Now let's move on into synchronicity. Okay? Means that you're at the right place at the right time. You're at the right place at the right time. Everything is interlocked in alignment. Okay? And it is that synchronicity that actually brings about miracles. So when your mind is completely quiet, you feel silent, you feel still, all of a sudden a thought comes to you and saying, oh, I'm remembering my best friend Jim from high school. And I finish that meditation, all of a sudden I get a phone call, and it's Jim. I get a text message, and it's Jim. Oh my goodness, I was just thinking of him while I was going into stability. And it came. How miraculous is that? Okay? That's synchronicity. So stability and synchronicity work together hand in hand. As you are stabilized, as you have stability, your mind is not causing this perturbation, this disturbance of the ethers that you are. Right? The ethers are kind of like the calm waters. They are what make everything manifestable through the idea of the mind. Okay? The ethers are like the gateway between the manifest and the unmanifest. And so with us being intelligence, as long as we are stimulating that intelligence through the ethers, we're creating ripples. It's like putting these drops of water into a still pond, and you're watching these ripples just completely cascade outwards. That's basically why we have sacred geometry. Sacred geometry is perturbation. Okay? It's beautiful patterns. They're absolutely gorgeous, but that is the effect of perturbation upon the ethers. Like dropping these drops of water into the still pond, you see these ripples, you see this geometry. Well, that's what thought is doing. It's intelligence that is stimulating the ethers through the process of thought. Okay? Thought is responsible for the perturbations of the ether. So when our mind is quiet, there's no perturbations. It's a still pond. As it's a still pond, you're not thinking of anything. You're not doing anything. You are simply in beingness. That's stability as well. Stability is beingness. Stability is going into the abode. Okay, as I talk about the abode is simply the self. It's simply pure consciousness. And that's where you're at. Now that your mind is at peace, now that your mind is quiet, a very simple, effortless thought comes out and saying, oh, I remember my best friend Jim from high school. There's a perturbation. But that's the only thing that you're feeling. That's the only magnetic, that's the only perturbation that's coming from the ethers. And because that's the only thing that's in your mind, it gathers to you very, very quickly. That ripple spreads out, and through that spreading of the ripple comes the magnetic force that represents that theme in question. That is that effortless thought. I remember Jim from high school. And all of a sudden I get a ring on my phone. I get a text message. I get an email from him. He said, hey man, I was just thinking about you today and I was wondering how you were doing. Oh my goodness, I just thought of you like 30 seconds ago. And here you are. That's the miracle, okay? So the miracle in that sense is when you are completely in a state of stabilization and a very simple thought, just an effortless thought, no trouble to it whatsoever, no effort, no stress, no strain, nothing of that nature. It's just a subtle thought. It's what we call pure thought, okay? A pure thought comes out, it's still a perturbation, but it doesn't have any emotional clamping down of yourself, right? It's not mental strain, it's not emotional strain, it's not causing physical strain. It's just it's like a floating thought, okay? And that's what we call a pure thought. And if you do think, that is the thought that you want to have, okay? You want pure thoughts, okay? You have pure feelings, which means there's no tendencies behind them. There's no tendencies to the thought. There's no tendencies to the feelings. They are simply pure, okay? And this is what creates instability, is when we have those tendencies behind the thoughts, okay? When we're looking at thoughts and feelings and emotions, these are not bad things, okay? What happens is that our tendencies, right, our insecurities are behind those thoughts. They're behind those feelings. They're behind those emotions. And they cause explosions of perturbability throughout the ethers. They're like nukes, right? And that's not what this is. It's like a little drop in the water. Just spreads off really quickly. And again, this manifestation comes to us so quickly. That's the stability working together with the synchronicity, right? The synchronicity is everything is in alignment, right? The stars have completely aligned to you. So we're in synchronicity. We're at the right place at the right time. The stars have aligned. And now everything comes to you so quickly and so effortlessly, because it's an effortless thought. It's a pure thought. It's an effortless feeling. It's a pure feeling. Okay? When your thought is effortless, which means there's no tendencies, there's no chaos behind the thought, there's no preconceived notions of anything that, again, have a lot of emotional strain behind them, your thought is pure. Okay? Your feelings are pure. So that is stability together with synchronicity. Then we have the third. The third is representing interconnectedness. Okay? Interconnectedness and oneness. Realizing that as we are interconnected to all things, nothing is impossible. What is it? What is the one thing that I commonly say as of late, especially these past few months? What have I said? Everything is perfect. Everything is possible. Okay? So therefore, when you know that you are interconnected to every single thing that there is, nothing is impossible. And everything is perfect because you are in stability. You are in stability. You are working together in harmony with synchronicity. And you realize that you are interconnected with everything. I can identify with every single blade of grass. I can identify with every single drop of water in the ocean. I can identify with every grain of sand in the desert. I can identify with every single molecule that exists. I can identify with every single atom. And I can identify with every single person, with every single living thing, with every single planet, with every single galaxy, with the entire universe, with the multiverse. I identify with it all because I am the all. Where we set ourselves back is through that veil of the separate self, because the separate self is the opposite of interconnectedness. It is the opposite to oneness. It has diversity. And diversity is a great illusion, right? We see all these different people walking around. We see all these different things throughout all of life, and we think life is so diverse. It's not, okay? It's all interconnected into the one. That's how it works. Everything comes from the one. We are all that one. So if we continue to think otherwise, and thinking that everything's diversity and everything's separation consciousness and everything's compartments and everything is scattered outwards, everything's separate from us and segregated, then you are never going to be in harmony with yourself. That's chaos, okay? That thinking is chaos. That mentality of living life in that way, of thinking that you're separate from everyone and everything, is chaos. That is walking backwards, okay? That's doing the moonwalk in life. And that's not what we're looking to do here. You want to understand stability. You want to get your mind quiet. You work with pranayama. You work with heart rate variability, right? You work with hakalau, as I've talked about, with just simply focusing your awareness upon your senses. What you see, smell, taste, touch, hear, and experiencing all that at the same time. Being able to be aware of what is around you 360 degrees without moving a muscle, right? So if your eyes are closed, you immediately know what's around you 360 degrees. It's awareness. Doesn't mean you need to have some type of visualization. You're just aware, okay? And that is completely silencing the mind. You're keeping the body nice and still as you can make it, okay? And now you're going completely into that state of silence. And when you're in that sense of stability, what is also there is your ability to surrender to everything. Everything surrendered to. Nothing perturbates you. Nothing disturbs you. And now I align to synchronicity when that effortless thought, that effortless feeling comes out. And now that miracle comes to me like that. Because that's the only magnetic. Everything else is quieted down. Okay? And if I still have a rampant monkey mind, well, then I'm going to do something like release ball method. I'm going to do something like prana transmission technique. I'm going to do something like BCR technique. I'm going to get myself into surrendering and releasing everything that basically ails me. Everything that is a disturbance to me, I release. I've surrendered to it and I've released it. And now I'm completely at peace with it. I'm attempting to be completely at peace with every form of chaos that exists within me. And I'll do that on an emotional level, I'll do that on a mental trauma level, and I'll do that on a transitional level, which is the survival program, the fear of death. I'm not talking about the idea that one day your body's going to croak. A lot of people aren't actually afraid of that. What they are afraid of is that they feel that they're going to lose everything. They're feeling they're going to lose their identity. And your identity is a survival program. That's the level 3. That's the triangle here, right? There's a triangle right here. Bottom level, level 1, emotion. Second level, traumas. Third level, transition or survival program, okay? So we may start off from the bottom and work our way up. I would suggest people start working with level 2. You start clearing away your mental traumas, okay? So those mental traumas are abandonment, rejection, abuse, addiction. Okay, so that also relates to the idea of security. I need security. I need control. I need approval. I need lust. I need escape, right? I need to escape. I need to run away from things. Okay, that's addiction. So we are clearing all of that out. So again, like I said, I've talked about this quite commonly through the release ball method. We want to clear all of that out. We want to clear out that chaos. It's the only way your mind's going to get quiet. Your mind's not going to get quiet if you're constantly in chaos and you do nothing about it. Okay? You got to do something about it. You got to clear that out. And again, even if it takes some time, it's not going to take a lot of time, especially if you're going for your traumas and you clear them out. And what is the best way to work with your traumas? You look back into your youth. You go back as young as you feel you can. You look back into your youthful memories. You look at these things that was forged when you were a young man, a young woman, okay? And you're clearing those out, okay? I felt like I was having so much insecurity with my parents. I was desperately seeking their approval. I was constantly victimized by people. I was constantly abused by people, okay? So I need to look at all those things. I need to put that into the ball. I need to surrender everything. And I can surrender everything because I'm putting my body and my mind over here. And all that remains is my awareness. I'm shining that invisible light of awareness upon that ball that has all of these calamities in it. And I'm letting them go, letting them go, letting them go, giving up ownership, giving up identity with them. And now I'm completely surrendered. Am I ready to let this go? Yes, release. Everything in the ball is empty. Looking inside myself. Does this problem still exist within me? Nope, it's completely gone. Great. How long did that take me? A matter of seconds. All right? So it needs to be the same with you. The more that you do this, and you start tackling your big beasts, all right, the big traumas, that's what I call them. You want to go into your youthful years, your younger years, as far back as you can possibly recall. We only release what we recall, okay? But you're going back as young as you can into these things, and you're using the release ball method, and you're clearing them out, okay? Release ball method is in the playlists. Prana transmission technique is in the playlists. BCR technique is in the playlists. Conflict elimination is in the playlists. Cord removal healing is in the playlists, okay? All of it is here for you, and it's all free. Work with that. And that is what's helping us to look into the third prerequisite, which is interconnectedness. That I no longer identify as a separate self. I see myself as the all. I am, okay? I simply am. I don't even exist, because existence still represents the idea of raising something into being. I have never been raised into being. I am, right? So I simply am. That's the truth of the nature of you. So once we have stability, once we have synchronicity, once we have interconnectedness, now you have everything, all of the qualities that represent yourself as a universal sovereign, okay? You are the universal sovereign right now. And that's how many within the higher galactic communities operate. They're not even concerned about making this into a spiritual journey. They're not even concerned about thinking that this is some sort of religious institution or anything of that nature. It's how they naturally live. They just start bringing and drawing everything to them because they're disciplined in their mind. They're able to get themselves into silence. They let these effortless thoughts come together when they need something. It draws themselves to them, and they realize that they're interconnected to all life, right? So in that mentality, that's not the idea of feeling that they're getting too religious about this. They're not feeling that they're on some spiritual kick or spiritual journey. What do I say? What are you talking about? This is just life. This is just how it is. This is how I am, okay? Some of them know that they connect with the infinite beingness, the infinite God. Some of them don't even see it that way. It's just how they live through life. They live through life by stabilizing their mind, by aligning to synchronicity, and knowing that they're interconnected to all things. It's natural to them. It's no more different than if you're asking a child, how many fingers are on their hand, right? Or what is the sun in the sky, right? Do we rotate around the sun? It's all common knowledge. And a lot of the higher galactic beings are educated in this way in their youth. That I'm simply stabilized, I'm synchronized with everything, and I'm interconnected with everything. It's natural to me. Why would I not believe that? Okay? So that's what we have to get used to. If we want to move into being a cosmic civilization, these are the three prerequisites. You cannot go out into an intergalactic civilization with a separate self-ego. You won't fit. It just won't work, right? It becomes extremely destructive because everything around you doesn't operate that way. You will be completely out of odds with everything around you, and it will become more of a psychotic shock than anything else, because that's not how the greater community works. Greater community is all about stabilization. It is all about having that disciplined mind. It is all about having that connection to synchronicity. It's about knowing that you're interconnected to all things. That's how the greater community, the cosmic community, the interstellar civilizations in majority work. There's some that don't, but they're in very different, you could say, lower realms, lower dimensions, right? Because they feel themselves through chaos, and they restrict themselves. They can't even go out into the greater communities because of all the tension, all the stress, all the strain that they buckle themselves into. It's such a heavy frequency that you basically have to be restricted to these very, very dense, low realms. They're not comfortable at all. They're basically as close to hellish-like dimensions than we could ever know, right? If you're watching horror movies in that way, then you're getting an idea of that. That's where they live, because they choose to go into the extremes of separate self-consciousness. And that is a confining space that is absolutely chaotic, and that's not where you want to be. Okay? You want to work with the greater community, and the greater community works together through these 3 prerequisites. And so as you understand this, you may need to go back to this video quite a few times to get more about what I'm sharing here. But as you get stability, as you get synchronicity, as you know that you are interconnected to all, that is all that it takes for you to therefore move into the greater community, into knowing that you are universal sovereign, that you have universal sovereignty. Okay? You are universal sovereignty. The good news about all this is it's very, very simple. Once you get the gunk out of your mind, once you get all those that chaos out of yourself, and you're no longer just bogging yourself down with all of that debris of a separate self-consciousness, everything truly becomes simple. Adronis would always say that this is about the science of the simple. And what I'm teaching you guys here is the science of the simple. Get the separate self out of the way. And when you are having that separate self out of the way, the prerequisites come to you very quickly. And that's how you live life. You're now living from the inside. And this is what I'm working very diligently to help educate you guys with. But I can only do so much, because everything I share here is simply a perspective. You will only know truth by what you are able to feel within yourself rings like a bell and say, okay, that's the truth, right? Everything I share with you guys is perspective. It's philosophy. Once you bring it into yourself and you experience it, and it brings about results, now you become an authority to that truth that is now yours. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskar, and may it be well with you. Thank you very much for checking out the New Earth Teachings YouTube channel. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And you can check out the websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can order a private session, 3 questions by email, EQ method, and a lot more. And you can also check out healingcodecards.com, where you can grab your mind deck, your body deck, and of course the brand new Body Deck Special Edition. All of these are available in digital editions as well. And you can also get a shirt just like this through healingcodeshop.com, where you can experience the healing codes in apparel form. So feel free to check out these websites. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you again in the next video. Be well.